Nico!
You play Lars? Please stop. Lars is trash.
You still bring Lars to trash? Yeah. Why? Why play? Change the game. Try to drama or drama.
And Lars, the problem with Lars is I honestly feel a bit bad for Lars players, even though I hate playing against this character. He's so annoying. He's not strong because there's a lot of option selecting and fake mix-ups with his stances. It's not real 50-50s. You can option select a lot. So he's not very strong, but he's so fucking annoying. And I hate monkey flip. But I honestly feel bad for Lars players. It's not very exciting for them to check patches because nothing ever happens to this character. You got the buff to Ford free, but after that, like, I feel like nothing's really happening to Lars.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Tekken 8 video, and today we are going to talk about the main issue, the big question. People have been asking me about this. You saw the title of the video. Does Lars Alexanderson need buffs still? So I am going to go ahead and give my honest opinion about the situation, how I feel. I've asked multiple people about this. I've asked people that I've trained with, sparring partners. I even messaged Tendo and asked him to give his input on what he feels about Lars in Tekken 8 as of right now. So as the game progresses, we're starting to see who really are the top tiers, who are the strongest, and who are on the weaker side. And like I said before, people have been asking me, my honest opinion of how do I feel about Lars right now? Do I feel that he needs buffs right now? Well, what I'm going to say is that right now, everybody in Tekken 8 is viable. I don't think anybody in this game is particularly weak. I don't think anybody is unusable. I think everybody, for the most part, does have something going for them, for the most part. Now, do I think Lars needs buffs? And my honest opinion is what I'm going to say is I do think Lars could receive some more help. I do think that he is lacking in some things. I told some of y'all know who this is, Mr. Acid. He's my sparring partner. He's a Brian main. And I was discussing this with him, and I asked him, like, do you think Lars needs buffs? And I was like, yeah, he could probably use a little bit more love. But he said within reason, and I agree with him. He said he could use buffs, but reasonable buffs. We don't want to over buff Lars, because if you over buff him, he's going to be stupid. And I wouldn't want Lars to be stupid in this game. I don't want him to be broken. I don't want him to be OP. I want him to be, he is a solid character in my opinion. Like, he does have some things going for him, but he is lacking. But the things he lacks in is pretty prominent, I'll say. So like I said before, I did go ahead and ask Tendo. I messaged him what he thinks, and he does agree, like I said. So I'm gonna go ahead and give my 2 cents on what exactly I would change, and some of the things I believe that he should receive in terms of buffing, if I was in charge of buffing this character, right? So the first thing I'm going to tell you is that what I would change is his down forward 2. I would make this safe. You see how that says -11? This is jab punishable on block. I don't think this should be punishable. I would just make this safe. And the reason I would make this safe is because you have other characters in this game that have down forward 2s that are safe, that are 15 frames fast, so it's a frame slower than this move, but they launch you on normal hit. They don't need a counter hit. They don't need any type of, it's just straight up launcher on normal hit. And they crush highs. This does not crush highs. This does not launch you. All it does is it guarantees you a follow-up on counter hit, because it's a counter hit knockdown. It is fast, and it does have decent range, right? It does have decent range, but I don't think that warrants him to be punishable if you decide to cancel the stance transition. So I would just make this safe. So that's the first thing I would do. Another thing I would do is I would make Lars's limited entry stance. I would make that a little bit scarier to deal with because Lars does not really get anything off of counter hit in any type of situation with both of these attacks. So what I would, and the problem is that even if Lars gets you with this 2-1 string, his 10 frame punish, if he gets you with this, you can still power crush the mid. You can heat burst the mid. And if you heat burst the mid on the correct time, Lars is technically airborne, see? He's technically still airborne, so if you time this, that's a juggle. And essentially you could punish him for doing the right thing. So what I would do if the Lars player makes the read and he thinks that you're gonna do a power crush and he does the low, I think the low should do something on counter hit. If you get the power crush the mid option, I believe the low should do something on counter hit. I think it should do something like Jin's, I picked Jin for a reason. I think it should do something like Jin's down back 4. I think it should do something like that where they hold their feet. That way, if Lars gets that counter hit on you, it doesn't guarantee, I wouldn't let it guarantee anything, but I would definitely grant him more frames on counter hit. Right? So I would definitely enable him to get more frames off of this on counter hit. I think that's fair. I don't think that's broken. I think if you get to power crush the mid, but if Lars makes the read to do the low, that should do something on counter hit instead of just doing nothing on normal hit and just granting you just a +4. I think that should do something on counter hit. I think Lars's limited entry stance should be a little bit more scary. Because both of these options do absolutely nothing on counter hit. Meanwhile, you have characters that have 10 frame punishers that do have something that is actually have real threats that can counter hit launch you off of a 10 frame punish. So I would grant Lars something on counter hit off of this low. I would buff that low. Another thing I would do is I would just reverse this to back to Tekken 7. Lars is down back 1. I would just make this back to +1 on hit. Reason being is because if you duck this low and Lars commits to the high, you can launch him for that. That is launch punishable on block. And it's not even, and for what? It's not even like, it's a 19 damage low poke that doesn't, it's not even your turn after this connects. So I wouldn't even, I would just revert this back to +1, and I feel like that's not even asking for much. I don't understand this nerf that they did from Tekken 7 to Tekken 8. This doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you make this -1? Jack has a low that is 12 frames fast. That 12, let's understand this. 12 frames fast. That is as fast as Lars' silent entry 1. That is a stupid fast low that grants him I think +1 or 2, and he can check you with his while standing 4 that you cannot step. So, and there's no, and the thing is that even if you block the low, all you get is a while standing 4 punish. Meanwhile, if Lars commits to the low high, you can launch him. So I don't think that's fair. I think you should just give him the +1. There was no reason to nerf that. I think that's absolutely dumb. I would change that. It's not even asking for much. But in my opinion, just make this +1 again. That makes no sense to me. Another thing, like Jin's down back 4, I would also grant him a better low from standing. I would give him a new move. I would give him a new low that's from standing that is not death on block, and grants him a decent amount of plus frames, like Jin's down back 4. Jin's down back 4 is +3 on hit, so he could check you with a down forward 1, or he could check you with his 12 frame mid. Jin has a lot of moves to complement this low. So Lars's lows are kind of shit. Lars doesn't really have the best lows, and I think his low, if you're a Lars player, you're gonna use down back 4, right? You're gonna use this low, and it's +5 on hit, and it forces crouch on the opponent, and it is a counter hit launcher, and it has good range, but it does not track. Or it doesn't. It's not homing or anything, but it does have somewhat decent tracking. My problem with this though is that this is like the only like. I'm not gonna say it's the only low because he has like 1-4 and stuff like that, but I feel like he should have a better low to complement his offense, like complement his mids, because I think his offense revolves too much around down back 4. If Lars wants to get some type of, decent offense going, in my opinion, he relies too much on this low to do that for him. I think he should have a better low that grants him a little bit better plus frames, so it doesn't warrant him, so the Lars player doesn't feel like he has to do this low to get something going. I think he should have more options off of a low that doesn't require him to sacrifice his life if it's blocked. I think he should have something similar to Jin's down back 4, which is like -13 or something to that nature that grants him, it doesn't even have to do anything on counter hit like Jin's does, but it should grant him at least +2 or 3, at least. I think he should have another low besides down back 4 to give him some other, plus frames. I don't think that's too much to ask. Another thing I would change is his Den 4. Tendo's said that he would change the lows from dynamic entry. What he would do is he would put back, so in Tekken 7, when Lars went into dynamic entry, he had access to this low. So he would dash in your face and do this low. He said he would bring that back. I think I am inclined to agree, to be honest. It would still be unsafe, but I think that would be fine. But what they essentially did is they traded the risk reward for safety. So you don't get a lot of reward off this low, but you are granted a little bit more safety if it's blocked. But the thing is that I use this low sometimes, but you can't really do too much off of this. I would make this at least a little bit better. I would make it at least faster. It's 23 frames. That's pretty slow. Like, look at the animation. That's kind of slow. So I would either make this faster, or if he presses down, I would grant him a little bit more frames on hit. Just a little bit more, not too much, but a little bit more. Like, I think his wall standing 4, if he presses down, should grant him a little bit more plus frames so it doesn't trade with a jab, in my opinion. I think it should just be outright beat a jab, because the thing is that you can still step this mid. You can step that to your right if you're on player 2. So if you can step that, why can't this just at least beat jabs? So I think that should at least beat jabs in that situation. So I would grant Lars a little bit more plus frames when he presses down to go into limited entry. Or I would put that low back to make people actually want to duck a little bit more when he's dashing in your face, to warrant some type of mix-up, because a lot of people, there's not really a great reason to duck this, to be honest. I see what they were doing with the stomp, and I do like that on counter hit it does give you a heat engager guaranteed, and if he's in heat, it guarantees his silent entry 1, which is a launcher if you press forward. That is kind of nice, but I do think that maybe not, if he dashes in your face, maybe not giving him this with plus frames, but I think this and keeping it -3 is fair. I think that's fine. Another thing, what I would do is this grab. So this does not break the floor. Why? I don't know. I would make this grab break the floor, or make it a floor break, because literally Lars is grabbing you by the fucking cranium and literally just throwing your face and putting all his weight on your fucking face. So it makes no sense to me why this doesn't break the floor. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I would buff that throw. I would make it floor break. Another thing I would change, and this is only gonna be if Power Crush heat engagers do not change. If in terms of the longevity of Tekken 8, and as the game changes and progresses through time, if they don't change Power Crush heat engagers, which I think needs a complete overhaul, in my opinion, they just shouldn't exist, but I don't think they're gonna change it that much. If they're gonna keep it the way it is, what I would do, and I don't think I don't agree with Power Crush heat engagers, but since people get to have one, fuck it, why not? So in my opinion, what I would do is I would make Silent Entry 4 a heat engager. Now, is that strong? Absolutely. But the thing is that everybody else gets to have one, so why not Lars? And the thing is that even if you give Lars that, it's still fairer than what the other characters have because they can just do it off rip. They don't have to go in a stance to do it. So, and we all know, us Lars players, we all know that everybody likes to mash Lars out of his stances. We all know that people, when they see Lars go in a stance, everybody's so ready to press buttons, right? Well, if that's the case, maybe make it to where if they mistime their punish or when they try to press, make it to where they get punished. Make it to where they might eat a heat engager. That way, when they are so ready to mash on Lars's stance transitions, maybe that'll make them think twice about eating that. About, oh shit, you know, that he has a Power Crush heat engager in that stance. I might need to be a little bit more careful. So, I would only give him this if Power Crush heat engagers are still stay the same way that they are to this day. I would give him that. I would give him another thing. It would be a new move. Well, it's not a new move because he had this in Tekken 6. There's 2 moves that I would give him back in Tekken 6, and I talked about one of them already. And I'm going to show 2 clips here to show you which ones I would give him. Right there, as I showed you, this attack is called, I think it's called, how do I say this, Mjolnir or Mjolnir? It's some Norse thing or some shit like that. But I would give him that move back to complement his mids in dynamic entry. Would I let it launch on normal hit? No, I would nerf that. I would not let it launch on normal hit. What I would do is I would make it safe on block, but I would make it forced crouch on normal hit and +5. The reason being is because now Lars has a way to utilize his back 4 more now. There's a way to frame trap with your back 4, because the thing is that unless you do a heat dash, there's not really a great way to incorporate back 4 anymore, because in Tekken 7, if you did dynamic entry 3, you were standing and it was like a beefy kick, you were left standing, and your opponent was in your face, and you could get the frame trap was back 4. But now Lars doesn't really have the best way to incorporate back 4 as a frame trap because of the toolkit in Tekken 8 at his disposal right now. So I would give him that attack back, and what I would do essentially is I would make it to where it would give the same properties like this, where they're forced crouch at -5, and then boom. If they want to press, they eat back 4. That would be a great way to complement this back 4. It would give Lars a little bit better utility to use back 4. So I would give him that. And then this is an obvious change that I talked about this before. Lars should just be able to cancel his dynamic entry 3. He should not be forced to go into stance if he doesn't want to. The thing is though, is that if he cancels the stance transition, I would take the plus frames away. So what I would do is I would make it neutral on block if he decides to hold back, because Lars can decide to go into stance or not from most of his moves, right? By holding back. But why can't he do it off a dynamic entry? So I would make it to where this can be cancelable, so he doesn't have to go into stance, but I would also make it to where he's neutral on block, so it's not, nobody's at an advantage. It's neutral. You're not plus, I'm not plus, we're just tied. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is, I talked about this before, and like I said in my other video, but it's a mid-mid, and the second hit is cancelable. I would do that, and I think that would be a good idea to complement his offense a little bit better, because Lars doesn't have the greatest mids from standing, in my opinion, because all he really has is this. This is probably his best mid from standing. You know, he has this, he has back 4. Yeah, he does have some things, but I think he should have a better mid to complement his offense to make the opponent kind of second guess, or you know, maybe make this attack delayable if he wants to, because Jhin has amazing mids, and I'm not just saying like, oh, Jhin, you know, I'm using Jhin as a reference point, because there's other characters that have great mids just like Jhin, but I think Lars should get some mids, you know, some a little bit love on his mid game as well. So like this right here, this 3-hit series that Jhin has, this is all delayable, that wall splats, and it's safe on block. That is an amazing collection of mids. I think Lars should have that with that double hitting mid. And he should be able to maybe delay the second hit. You could, if he's able to delay the second hit, you could even make it punishable. You can make it like jab punishable or something like that. But I do think it should be similar to the attack that Victor has, where he can use that sword butt thing with his sword, and he could cancel a second hit, and he does like a spin around move. So I think the move should be similar to this. Incorporate that kind of mid into Lars's gameplay, to where he can cancel it, and it can put him in limited entry stance or something like that. Because since Victor can go into stance after this, why not Lars? So, and you can just keep looping it. See, something like that. That's what I would give Lars, something like that. Yeah, so that's gonna be my changes for Lars, and some things that I would do to complement his offense. So would I buff Lars in Tekken 8? Yes, I would give him some better tools. I would, and the ones that I just listed, I would make him a little bit better. But I think that these are good changes, but at the same time they're reasonable. A lot of people ask for a lot of different things, and I've seen people say like, oh, Lars should have a power crush from limited entry. Lars should have. I'm just like, no. Like, we need reasonable. If we're gonna buff Lars, they need to be within reason. Like, we can't make him. I don't want to make him stupid strong. Like, he doesn't. I'm not saying there shouldn't be any counterplay. There should be counterplay to every character in the game to some degree, right? But I do think that in comparison to other characters, Lars does lack certain tools that just other people have that he just does not. At the end of the day, though, I for the most part, right, like in Tekken 8 as of right now, to call for buffs I think is absurd, to be honest. At the end of the day, I ultimately, as of right now, with the current state of Tekken 8, I think we need nerfs. I think people just need to be toned down a little bit, because there's some ridiculous stuff that a lot of people have. So I think we should look at that a little bit. I don't think Lars is, S tier or anything like that. I do think he lacks certain tools. But yeah, that's just going to be my 2 cents on what I would change with Lars, how I would buff him, and, going further in the future of Tekken 8. So, do I think these buffs are going to come to fruition? Probably not. I'm not holding my breath on them. I don't think we're going to get half of these things I mentioned, but I'm not banking on them, because at the end of the day, my reality is, you can nerf this character, you can buff this character. It literally does not matter to me. I am a Lars loyalist. I do not plan on maining anybody else. I am a diehard Lars main. I'm not gonna main anybody else to the extent of Lars, because I have battle scars with this character. I've grown with this character. With me, Lars is not just a character. He's a little bit deeper for me personally than that. For me, So, I don't plan on switching Lars anytime soon. You can nerf him. You can make him the weakest character in the game again. It's not gonna matter to me. I'm gonna ride or die with this guy. So, but these are just some of the things that I would change. So thank you guys for watching. As always, I appreciate the feedback and the comments, the continued love and support. Let me know what you guys would change. I like to read these things and get your opinions on the matter. But Be on the lookout for future videos. More to come. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Be safe out there, all right? Have a good one.